Okay, so as we look at this review for the quiz, just please keep in mind, like I said, tomorrow's quiz will be very similar to this. Obviously, the pictures will be a little different, the numbers will be a little different, but it'll be very, very similar. One thing you probably noticed right away was you did the reviews, there's no factoring on the review. Okay? The factoring was an algebra review. It is not, we're not quizzing you directly on the factoring thing. It will come up in the second half of this chapter that you will have to solve some problems using factoring. So there were no direct questions on factoring on the quiz, but it is at this particular quiz, and not even indirect, but in the next quiz or next chapter test, there definitely will be probably some things, at least one problem where you'll have to solve by factoring or using one of those techniques. And in any event, all that factoring stuff is excellent review for Algebra 2 because that's a major topic in Algebra 2, and that's for most of you heading next year. So anytime we can sneak something like that in there, it's good. All right. So we got to name some things. We need to name the circle. What's the name of the circle? Oh, okay. Now, how do we do that? How do I name that? What's the symbol, or what do I do to name circle O? I can't just say O, because if I just say O is a point. No, not a line over it. How do I name a circle? Okay, we can do a couple different ways. I mean, the book often does circle O. They do that as a circle symbol, and that's fine. I think it's just as easy just to call it circle O. Write the word circle and then the name after it. I mean, that's pretty easy. Okay? I mean, fairly obvious. All right, a diameter. What's the diameter here? DF. But what symbol needs to be there in order for it to be a diameter? A what symbol? I see people going, that, I don't know what means. Line? No, not a line. A segment. Because it is a segment. Okay? Yes, but there's a difference between a line and a segment, right? This is geometry we're picky, remember? Okay? This goes right back to chapter 1, doesn't it? Naming lines and segments and using the right symbol. So, good stuff. Radius. There are 3 different choices for a radius here. Give me one. Come on, people. Any one radius. I know it's early. OF would be just fine. And what symbol would that have? A segment symbol, because a radius is a segment. It has a distinct beginning and a distinct end point. Okay, that's what a segment does. It has a distinct beginning and a distinct end. The 2 letters we use to name it are the beginning and the end. By the way, diameter, would I ever say DOF, 3 letters for a segment? No, just 2, beginning and end. That's all we use. What would be a secant here? A secant. What do you get? DE with a line symbol. Excellent. Ding, 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 ding. Points for you. Okay. How about a chord? Yeah. I could do DE with a segment symbol. Yep. See, one of them has endpoints. The other one does not. I could also do DF. DF is technically a chord. This diameter is the longest chord of the circle. Chord just has to have both endpoints on the circle and be a segment. How about a tangent? What's my tangent here? BA with what symbol? A line. Okay? Or it could be AB. It doesn't matter. BA, AB. So naming parts of a circle. That's pretty straightforward. But where people are going to mess up is the symbols. And if you don't have the right symbol, the answer is wrong, period. Okay, it's not partial credit. Either have it or you don't. And the symbol's part of it. So keep that in mind tomorrow as you're taking this quiz, that the symbol is as important as the letters you're using. You got to name it properly. Find the value of x. This might very well be the hardest problem on the entire quiz. Okay? This is probably the hardest problem on the entire quiz. We're given that it's a right angle, so that means that that segment 15 is tangent as long as this is the center of the circle, and it is, and that's a radius. Okay, so how am I going to set this up? Yeah.
15 squared plus x squared equals x plus 9 squared.
Okay, and we did a couple examples like this in the homework, so this is not something that should be a terribly big surprise to us. But there are a couple things I have to remember. Here, I'm just squaring the individual values, so that's easy. 15 squared is 225 plus x squared. But now when I square this, I'm not squaring the individual values, I'm squaring a sum. And when we square a sum, that's where FOIL comes in. That's what it means. See, most people know that x plus 9 squared means x plus 9 times x plus 9. The problem is when they see this, they want to distribute the exponent over the sum, but that's not allowed in algebra. Distributing exponents over a sum is a big no-no that you learned about in Algebra 1. Because it doesn't work properly. Because we know that x plus 9 squared means x plus 9 times x plus 9, and when I actually go ahead and FOIL that out, x times x is x squared, and then the outside is a plus 9x, inside is another plus 9x, and the last is a plus 81. So if you just FOIL out these two numbers, you get x, or multiply, I'm sorry, if you just distribute the exponent, you get x squared plus 81. You miss the plus 18x in the middle. So you don't have the right solution. So it's x squared plus 18x plus 81. Now this looks like something we're going to have to factor, but fortunately for this part of the chapter, we always set up problems that work out really nicely, because when I went to move everything to one side of the equation, I did minus x squared both sides, it just canceled out. Oh, and now there's no x squared anymore, so we can just solve this using our normal linear means. Okay, so 144 equals 18x, and what is that? 6? 8, sorry. X equals 8. And we're all set. So that's probably the hardest problem on the whole test because of the algebra involved. But it's not horrible. We just have to remember when I get that quantity squared, and I also have to remember that this, if I want to express this whole side, I have to say x plus 9. I still get some people who want to do x times 9 there. They say it's 9x instead of 9 plus x. We're adding them together. We aren't multiplying those lines. Okay? So watch that. This is another one that looked really hard, but really is not, because what's got to be true? Two tangents from a common external point have to be congruent. So this x squared plus 5x minus 2 equals x squared plus 3x plus 8. And again, because of the way things set up nicely, I subtract x squared from both sides, it completely cancels. I'm left with 5x minus 2 equals 3x plus 8. And that's the linear equation, so that's easy to solve. And I get 2x equals 10, so x is 5. And we're all set. Now, again, since it's algebra primarily, I could check my answer by plugging 5 back in and say, this is 25 plus 25 is 50 minus 2, that's 48. This is 25 plus 15, which is 40, plus 8 is 48. Yep, it works. Okay? So you can substitute it back in and actually check your answer quite easily. Nice whole numbers. All right. Then we moved on to the central angle thing. Oh, I didn't put the arcs in. There. That's better. Okay, find the indicated arc measures and state whether it's a major arc, a minor arc, or a semicircle. Now, in this portion of the test, make sure that you are giving both answers, both the measure of the arc and major, minor, or semicircle. So make sure you're telling both things. Don't just give the measure and forget to say the other thing. You're throwing half your points away. All right, let's start by looking at this. Before I even begin, this is kind of one of those puzzle problems. And a lot of times these puzzle problems, it's easier just to figure everything out and then go back and answer the questions. So if this angle is 28, what's this arc? XVW here. Angle XCW is 28. What's arc XW going to have to be? 28. Same, because they're central angles, same measure. This arc is 122, so this is 122 degrees. Oh, I don't know this third one, but what do I know? All three of those must, since this is a diameter of the circle, these three put together have to add up to 180. So that's 130, 150, leaving 30 over here, which means that angle is 30. And this arc is 87, meaning this arc WV has to be what? Not 63, because that would only get me to 140 degrees, 150 degrees. 93. These two together have to add up to 180, right? Because this is a diameter cutting across. That's half the circle, 180 degrees. So 93, 87. So I've got all my measures now. Now I can very quickly go in and answer my questions. Arc YZ, well, we got that. That's 30 degrees. And it is a minor arc. Now I could tell it's a minor arc right away because there are only two letters given, right? How about XV? A little trickier. Start off with XV. Am I going to go around the long way or the short way, or do I go clockwise or counterclockwise? What am I doing? Short way, because it's two letters, telling me for sure it's a minor arc. So I'm going to go the short way. And I do have to do what? Add together the 28 and the 93, right? That's 101, 121. VYX. So let's locate that to start with. It's three letters. What is three letters telling me? Go the long way, right? So V through Y ending at X, essentially. That's what we're doing. So I have to add those pieces together. 87 plus 30 would be 117, plus 122 would be 139, 239. Did I add that up right? And that would be a major arc. XWZ. XWZ. Oh, okay. That's going to be major again. Three letters, and it's not a semicircle, so it's major. But this part, here, let's highlight that. Okay. The Z to V to W, that's 180. So 180 plus 28 is 208. So again, not real tough. Take the time. Double check your addition on the calculator. Okay, you'll have plenty of time to do this in class tomorrow. So make sure you're double checking that addition. Make sure you've done it right. Don't make a silly mistake because you're too lazy to just actually punch buttons on your calculator to make sure you've done your addition correctly. Okay, maybe even do it twice to the calculator to make sure you didn't push the wrong button. Because I've done that before. I'm double checking it. Oh, that's a different answer I got before. Enter it again. Pushing wrong buttons happens. Are the arcs congruent? If so, explain why or explain why not. So are arcs A and B congruent in this picture? Why? So here I'd say yes. They are congruent. Why are they congruent? Half your points coming from the why. How do you know they're congruent? explain this to me. What do you got here? Okay. Good. Vertical angles are congruent. And the arcs are in the same circle, right? Okay. So I've got the congruent angles, and they have to be in the same circle, because the two qualities we have to have for congruent arcs is they have to have the same measure, and they have to be in congruent circles. For example, if I moved V instead of, whoops, I guess I can't unhighlight that one. Instead I had A up here and B here, they'd still have the same vertical angles. They'd still have the same angle measure, but they would not be congruent arcs because they're not in circles of the same radius. The circles are a different radius. So watch that. How about here? Are X, A, and B congruent there? Well, look who showed up. Are X, A, and B congruent there? Yes. Why? Same measure. Congruent circles. Or you could say circles, same radius. That would be the same thing, but congruent circles is fewer words. So I'm basically lazy and write the shortest phrase I can. None of you can relate to that, can you? Okay. All right. We're almost done. This is going to be a monumentally difficult quiz, isn't it? How many of you right now are like at almost 100% on this worksheet? Awesome. So basically we could just stop here after this and just give you the quiz right now and then move on, right? If I had them run off, I could probably do that. But it's okay. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll give you the extra data. Make sure you're ready. Okay, find the indicated measure, AB. How long is that going to be? 10. It's the same distance away from the center, so it must be congruent. Tough. So this should be a pretty easy quiz tomorrow. Little spring break present for you, nice easy quiz. You should rock through this one without too much difficulty. Lots of really awesome grades. Good way to start the fourth quarter, right? All right, so I'm going to cut this off.